Military assessments conducted throughout 2025 reveal the devastating gap between China's projected invasion requirements and actual operational capabilities. The Pentagon's 2024 China Military Power Report confirms that the PLA has not yet demonstrated the type and sophistication of certain capabilities it would need in a major regional contingency, which explicitly includes Taiwan invasion scenarios. Corruption investigations have exposed systematic failures across every military branch responsible for cross-strait operations. Naval forces lack coordination capabilities necessary for complex amphibious assaults. Air units cannot demonstrate sustained operations over defended territory, and ground forces struggle with urban warfare tactics essential for capturing Taiwanese cities. The assessment shows that China's military remains fundamentally unprepared for the logistical complexity and operational coordination required for successful invasion operations against prepared defenses. The timeline required to address corruption-related military problems extends far beyond any politically acceptable timeframe for Taiwan reunification scenarios. Pentagon analysts conclude that the anti-corruption campaign may have disrupted the PLA's progress toward its 2027 modernization goals, effectively pushing back Xi Jinping's invasion timeline by years rather than months. Rebuilding compromised equipment alone would require extensive testing and replacement programs that cannot be completed before 2030 under optimistic scenarios. Training programs must be completely reconstructed to address systematic deficiencies in coordination and operational competence that corruption has created throughout military hierarchies. Command structure reforms necessary to restore reliable decision-making capabilities would require institutional changes that typically take decades to implement effectively. Ongoing investigations continue to expose new problems affecting military capability as auditors examine procurement records and operational assessments previously accepted without question. The Pentagon reports that in the second half of 2023 alone, at least 15 high-ranking military officials and defense industry executives were removed from their posts for corruption, but subsequent investigations suggest this represents only initial discoveries rather than comprehensive accounting of systematic problems. Each corruption case reveals additional equipment failures, training deficiencies, and operational shortcomings that compound existing capability gaps. Financial audits uncover fraudulent contracts affecting weapons systems that had been considered reliable, forcing complete reassessment of military readiness across all operational domains. Expert assessments indicate that rebuilding reliable military systems requires minimum timelines measured in years due to the systematic nature of corruption damage across all military branches. The Pentagon notes that the corruption is most severe within China's rocket force, which has seen significant investment in recent years, suggesting that even China's most advanced military capabilities have been compromised by systematic fraud and quality control failures. Nuclear deterrence systems require complete testing and potential replacement of components that may have been compromised by fraudulent procurement practices. Conventional missile systems need comprehensive evaluation to determine which units contain functional warheads versus water or other substitute materials. Naval vessels require extensive shipyard time for equipment replacement and system testing that naval facilities cannot accommodate quickly given the scope of necessary work. Corruption cleanup efforts create additional operational disruptions that further degrade military readiness, even as they address underlying problems affecting long-term capability development. The rapid removal of senior officers eliminates institutional knowledge and coordination mechanisms that had developed over years of joint training and operational planning. Suspension of training programs while new personnel are vetted prevents skill maintenance among remaining military personnel who need regular practice to maintain proficiency levels. Equipment testing and replacement programs remove significant portions of China's military arsenal from operational readiness while assessments and repairs are conducted. The Pentagon observes that the rapid turnover at the top will have an impact on the credibility of the PLA internationally, suggesting that cleanup efforts create reputational damage that extends beyond immediate operational concerns. The gap between China's public military posture and actual operational capability has become impossible to conceal as international intelligence agencies gain detailed knowledge of equipment failures and training deficiencies through corruption investigations. China continues to conduct military exercises and make threatening statements toward Taiwan despite internal knowledge that military forces lack the capability to execute successful invasion operations under current conditions. Public displays of military strength increasingly appear hollow as foreign observers recognize that equipment malfunctions and coordination failures make impressive-looking exercises meaningless as demonstrations of actual combat readiness. The Pentagon notes that the PLA continues to highlight what they refer to as the 5 incapables, revealing internal acknowledgement of systematic command competence problems. International awareness of Chinese military problems fundamentally alters deterrence calculations as potential adversaries recognize that threats of military action lack credible operational backing due to corruption-related capability degradation. Taiwan and its allies have adjusted defensive planning based on detailed knowledge of Chinese equipment failures and coordination problems that would make invasion attempts catastrophically unsuccessful. Regional nations show increased willingness to challenge Chinese territorial claims and economic pressure because military intimidation has lost effectiveness due to operational incapability. The United States and allied nations demonstrate reduced concern about Chinese military responses to alliance building and defensive cooperation because corruption has eliminated China's ability to conduct effective military retaliation against coordinated opposition. Some corruption damage appears irreversible in the short term because it affects fundamental systems and institutional knowledge that cannot be quickly rebuilt even with unlimited resources and political commitment. Weapon systems compromised by fraudulent components require complete replacement rather than repair because the extent of quality control failures makes determining reliability impossible without comprehensive testing. Institutional trust within military hierarchies has been so thoroughly damaged by corruption revelations that rebuilding effective command relationships requires generational change rather than personnel rotation. Industrial capacity for producing reliable military equipment has been compromised by corruption within defense contractors that will require years of quality control rebuilding and supplier verification. The stark assessment emerging from 2025 intelligence evaluations concludes that corruption has effectively eliminated any possibility of successful Taiwan invasion for the foreseeable future. China faces the prospect of military modernization programs that require decades rather than years to produce reliable capabilities, while regional security dynamics shift decisively against Chinese interests. The implications of this strategic reversal extend far beyond immediate military considerations to reshape the entire balance of power throughout the Indo-Pacific region. China's military leadership now confronts institutional damage that fundamentally alters invasion planning calculations for the foreseeable future. The strategic window that has opened for Taiwan and its allies may extend for years rather than months as China grapples with corruption damage that cannot be quickly repaired. Equipment replacement programs, training reconstruction, and command structure reforms require timelines measured in decades rather than election cycles. This crisis represents a fundamental shift in Indo-Pacific power dynamics, where nations previously constrained by fears of Chinese military retaliation now pursue more assertive policies with reduced concern about military consequences.